Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. It is a little bit of a slower week for the secondary market, but still a lot to talk about. Double Masters 2022 cards are beginning to stabilize. In fact, you're going to see a lot of cards from that set or cards reprinted in that set going down in value today. As a matter of fact, there's a special section a little bit later in the video where we discuss a few extra cards going down in value because I know a lot of people are looking to get some deals out there. Also, other news, since we did a video on Wednesday, Wizards of the Coast did decide to show us a little bit of information and a few cards from Dominaria United. So you'll see some of those sprinkled in the video today where relevant. But, of course, the bombshell they dropped was we are going to see actual cards from the Legends set in Dominaria United Collector Booster Packs. Not reprints, but original printings of these old cards. For the full details, head over to the Magic the Gathering website. They have an article outlining everything there, a lot more than I want to get into today. But I do think part of the reason the market has slowed down is simply because players have spent a lot of money now on Double Masters 2022, still picking up sealed product of that. And now they may want to start saving for September to pick up some of those Dominaria United collector packs. Anyway, the threshold for today's video again is $2. We're not going to talk about a card unless it's moving at least $2 up or down. There are a lot of cards this week, though, moving between $1 and $2. It does feel like an overall price adjustment, though. Some of those cards, sure, were moving for a good reason. Others were just moving. Quickly, before we get into all the details, though, just a fast reminder, if you go to FlipsideGaming.com, you can use the HEROES promo code to save 10%. On orders over $10. Currently, you can pre-order Dominaria United products there. They have everything you see on the screen as well as the Commander decks. Plus, they have a whole lot of other things on their website too. Remember, if your order's over $100 or consists only of singles, shipping will be free in the United States. Also, whenever you use the HEROES promo code, it does support the channel, which is always appreciated. So thank you, and without any further ado, let's get into it. No standard cards to talk about, so we're going to start off this time with the Pioneer Legal Spotlight. This is where we discuss the Pioneer Legal cards moving the most this week, up or down, starting with Archangel Thune from Iconic Masters. This goes down 201 this week to 2732. This did heat up when everybody was building Commander decks around Giada Font of Hope. That is still a popular Commander deck, and this is in many other builds too, but it is retracting a little bit now. Next is Aurelia the War Leader. This is the Guilds of Ravnica Boros Guild Kit copy. Only comes in foil. It goes down 221 this week to 2275. This was reprinted in Double Masters 2022, which is why it is soft right now. It is a fairly popular commander, but you see this in the 99 of many builds too, including Kalia of the Vast, which is another card reprinted in Double Masters 2022. Llanowar Waste, the original Apocalypse copy, down $273 to $17. Now, you might remember a couple weeks ago, this dried up in the secondary market online, and it started to jump a little bit. Like I said, this was the only copy of the card jumping, so I didn't really think it was tied in really closely to gameplay. It was more due to temporary scarcity online at that moment. More copies are starting to enter the marketplace, and you're seeing this begin to dip. It is a popular Commander mana-based card, though, in many different builds, including a popular new one, Merkle Lord of Bones. First card moving up this week is one we've seen a lot of recently. This is Sarkhan Unbroken, up 204 to 2928. This, of course, has been moving up because of the new Dragon support that came from Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate. It is in Commander builds like the Dragon and Tiamat. Both of those, as well as other Dragon builds, are getting more play now in Commander. It's also in new decks, too, around a new card, Mirim Sentinel Worm. Plus, there may be some more Dragon support in Dominaria United. This card was previewed on Thursday, Shivan Devastator. Next, we have Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger. This goes up 337 this week to 6134. This is rebounding after some recent losses. In Pioneer, you see this in Mono Green Stompy and Gruul Ramp. In Modern, it's in Mono Green and Colorless Tron. And in Legacy, you see this in Mono Green as well as Colorless Cloudpost. It is also a fairly popular commander and in the 99 of many builds too, including Kozilek the Great Distortion. This was also in a Svella Ice Shaper commander deck this week on an extra turns episode of the Command Zone podcast. That could have brought some attention to it too. And the last card in this section is Hallowed Fountain, the original one from Dissension. It goes up 470 this week to 3727. All Shocklands are getting another reprint in Unfinity, but the original copies have still been moving at times. With the regional championships this season being Pioneer tournaments, a lot of players have been scrambling to build decks And if you need to buy a shock land when a reprint is imminent, at least the original copies will lose the least value when Unfinity comes out. This is in many Pioneer decks, including a couple popular ones, Azorius Control and Banned Spirits. In Modern, this is an Omnith Focus of Creation builds at Hammer Time, plus much more. And it's a big Commander mana-based card too in many builds, including the Ur-Dragon. It's found in new decks there too, like Elminster, for example. Beyond that, this was on that Extra Turns episode of the Command Zone podcast this week in an Omnith Focus of Creation deck. And that quickly brings us to the Modern Legal Spotlight. Again, we have some cards going down in value, this time only one card moving up. First, we have Emeria the Sky Rune. This goes down 273 to 1920, but it is the copy from the list, and you might remember this was spiking last week because it was dry in the marketplace. It was only part of the list for Zendikar Rising. This week, a few copies do enter the marketplace, and we start to see some retraction. It is a solid commander card in many builds, including a very popular one, Giada Font of Hope. Ulamog the Infinite Gyre, the Rise of the Eldrazi copy down 286 this week to 59.25. The Ultimate Masters copy is down 291 to 55.30. This was reprinted in Double Masters 2022, which is why it's dipping the way it is. It is a popular commander card in many different decks, including those Kozilek the Great Distortion builds. Cloudstone Curio is down 342 this week to 57.08. This one is moving down after some recent increases. It is a solid commander card, though, and combo enabler in the format, found in many different builds. This has seen a little increased commander play in some Miram Sentinel Worm decks recently, too. Reflecting Pool, the Tempest copy, goes down 397 this week to 25.10. This was recently reprinted in Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate. It is a highly played commander mana-based card found in lots of builds, including the Ur-Dragon. You see this in new builds around a number of popular new commanders as well, like Miram Sentinel Worm, Merkle Lord of Bones, and Captain Nagathrod. Plus, this does make a good upgrade to the commander deck where you find Captain Nagathrod, and that, of course, is Mind Flayers. Kozilek Butcher of Truth, the copy from Ultimate Masters, is down $4 to 55.10. This was in the list for Strixhaven and Modern Horizons 2, but now it has been reprinted in Double Masters 2022, which again is why this is moving down. In Modern, you see this in Mono Green as well as Prison Tron. In Legacy, it's in Mono Green and Colorless Cloud Post. And this has seen a little increased commander play recently in Nero Wild Mage builds. Last card moving down in value in this section is Thrumming Stone, the original one from Cold Snap. It goes down $5.25 to $35. This was in the list for Zendikar Rising and Kaldheim. However, it was also reprinted in Double Masters 2022, which again is why it's losing value. This does get commander play along with cards that can break the deck limitation rules. As a matter of fact, it's getting more play now in the format around a new card, Bane Lord of Darkness. Sometimes those builds run Thrumming Stone and multiple copies of Shadowborn Apostle, which happens to be another card reprinted in Double Masters 2022. And our lone card moving up in value in this section is Doubling Season from Modern Masters. It goes up $2.44 this week to $86.99. Huge commander card. It's getting even more play now in some new builds like Miram Sentinel Worm and Merkle Lord of Bones. The thing about this card is whenever a new Magic set comes out, it brings new cards that play well with this. Earlier we saw Shivan Devastator from Dominaria United, but here's 3 more preview cards that they showed on Thursday that would play well with this too. We have Evolved Sleeper and Jaya Fiery Negotiator. Those are both from the main Dominaria United set. The last card there, Ramirez de Pietro Pillager, that is a box topper. There will be one foil box topper out of a set of 20 found in Collector, Draft, as well as Set Booster boxes. Also, Collector Booster packs may contain non-foil and foil etch copies. Worth noting, though, these cards are Eternal format legal only. And the set of 20 consists of 19 legendary creatures and 1 Planeswalker, all based on original legendary creatures from that Legends set back in 1994. That takes us to the Vintage Spotlight. This is where we talk about cards that see play in Legacy, Vintage, or cards that are just popular among collectors. As always, for some of the cards in this section, the price you see on the screen is going to be a little more reminiscent of what you might see on a price tracking website. And that's because, at least again, in some cases, these cards don't see a ton of sales over the course of a week. So we do have to lean a little bit harder on asking price. Also, too, when it comes to the older, more iconic Magic cards, the price you see may fall somewhere in between a high-grade raw and high-grade graded copy. However, in those cases, if the price isn't near the middle, or if the price on the screen is simply not matching up with recent sales that I'm seeing, I will point that out. Interestingly enough, the first 5 cards we're going to see today are highly played cards that were not reprinted in Double Masters 2022, and I think that's part of the reason they're creeping up a little bit. First we have Chrome Mox from Eternal Masters up 229 this week to 76.67. This one is in Legacy Blood Moon Aggro, Oops All Spells, and more there. This is also in Vintage Goblins, and it's in many commander builds, including the popular Urzalord High Artificer decks. It was also in that Omnith Locus of Creation deck on the Extra Turns episode of the Command Zone podcast this week, too. Ancient Tomb, the Tempest copy, goes up 251 to 67.30. This was in the list from Midnight Hunt through Neon Dynasty. Sees a lot of play in Legacy. This is an 8-cast, Painter, and much more. Vintage, you see this in Prison and Aggro shops as well as Goblins. And it is a big Commander mana-based card too. You see this in many decks, including some new ones like Miram Sentinel Worm and Merkle Lord of Bones again. Force of Will, the Double Masters copy, goes up 287 this week to 119.95. This is a Legacy, Vintage, and Commander staple. In Legacy, this is an Izzet Delver, Jeskai Control, and more. In Vintage, it's an Esper Tinker, Doomsday, and more there. And this is in many different Commander builds, including Urzalord High Artificer again. Mana Crypt, this is the original book giveaway promo. This goes up $298 this week to $349.99. And of course, this sees a ton of play. In Vintage, it's an Esper Tinker, Paradoxical Outcome, and more. But it is a huge Commander card found all over the place, including the Ur Dragon. It's in some new builds too, like Miram Sentinel Worm. Plus, this is a nice upgrade to the Heads I Win, Tails You Lose Secret Lair Commander deck, and those have finally shipped. Mox Opal, the Modern Masters 2015 copy is up 239 to 69.33. The Double Masters copy is up 322 to $72. In Legacy, this is an 8-cast, Painter, and more. Vintage, it's in Paradoxical Outcome. This gets a lot of Commander play too in various builds, including the popular Urzalord High Artificer decks again. Null Rod up 552 this week to $96. Solid Legacy and Vintage sideboard card. In Legacy, this is in Mono Blue Merfolk, Colorless Cloudpost, and Vintage, it's in Prison Shops and Goblins. Also gets some Commander play in a number of different decks. Haunting Wind is up 1081 this week to 86.60. White Knight from Unlimited goes up 1240 to 25.95. Army of Allah. Now this is the B variation, which has the lighter circle behind the colorless mana symbol in the cost. It goes up 1268 this week to 44.47. Reverse Damage from Unlimited goes up $15 to $65. Volcanic Island from Revised up 1842 to $811.21. Mana Short from Unlimited. As a matter of fact, all the rest of the white border cards in this section are from Unlimited, so I won't keep saying that. Just know from this point forward, if you see a white border card, it is from that set. This goes up $27.79 this week to $84.99. Northern Paladin up $46.56 to $165.45, or is it? This one is inflated due to some high asking prices. High-grade raw copies can hit about $75, and high-grade graded copies can sell for a little more. Mishra's Factory. Now, this is the winter variation from Antiquities that you see on the screen. It goes up $56.11 to $540. Brain Geyser up $58.58 to $272.72. Blessing going up $146.02 to $269.50. Is that for real? No, this one is inflated too. High-grade raws can sell for around $40. High-grade graded copies can just break $100. Mox Sapphire, theoretically going up $755 to $7,794.99. How close is that to reality? Well, a graded 7 sold for this price recently, so that should give you an idea of value. When it comes to Power 9 though, since not many of these things sell, especially in high grade, it is hard to pin down a price. Basically, the increases and decreases that you see from these type of cards each week are mostly based on a difference in asking prices for the cards that are on sale that week. And remember, from week to week, the cards on sale can change. You could have higher grade copies one week, lower grade copies another week, more graded copies versus ungraded copies, so on and so forth. Basically, Power 9 cards are worth what somebody's willing to pay at that moment. Tundra up $899 to $2,099. Is that for real? Well, this one is a little high. High-grade raws can sell for about $1,200. A graded 9 recently sold for almost $1,650. Similar story here, but this one's off even more. Bayou goes up $1,019.26 to $1,999.99. In reality, high-grade raws can sell for about $800. A graded 9 sold recently for about $1,350. And the last card in this section, another card we can all afford, Library of Alexandria. This goes up $1,850 to $5,150. And yeah, this price is between a high-grade raw and high-grade graded copy of the card. Okay, before we get into our Commander Spotlight proper, like I said at the top of the video, I did want to talk more about cards losing value due to Double Masters 2022 packs getting cracked. I know a lot of players are out there trying to find the right time to buy. My advice is stay really close to these prices. Some may continue to come down, some might stabilize and start going up. Every card is a little bit different, and again, we have to kind of wait and see what happens with card circulation in the coming weeks. All the cards in this section, of course, are losing value. Many of them are from Double Masters 2022. Others are cards from other sets that were reprinted there. First, we have Vedalken Orrery. This is the one from the list, down $2.29 to $20.05. This was in the list from Innistrad Midnight Hunt through Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, then it returned for Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate. It is a solid commander card found in many different decks. Might as well round out the trio with Emrakul of the Eons Torn. The Double Masters 2022 copy is down $2.04 to $23.05. The Modern Masters 2015 copy is down $2.52 to $35.93. This was in the list for Zendikar Rising and Kaldheim. Sees a good amount of play in Modern. This is in Archon of Cruelty builds. It's also in Calibrated Blast and more. In Legacy, it's in Sneak and Show, Mono Green Cloud Post, and more there. Kalia of the Vast. Now, this is the copy from the original Double Masters, going down $2.76 this week to $22.77. This is a very popular commander, and sometimes it shows up in the Ur-Dragon builds in the format too. Warrior's Oath. This is the one from Double Masters 2022. It goes down $3.19 to $21.03. It is originally from Portal 3 Kingdoms, and this is the first time it was ever reprinted. It does get a little commander play in a few builds, including Obeka Brute Chronologist. Sensei's Divining Top. This is the copy from Champions of Kamigawa. It goes down $3.35 this week to $42.25. This joined the list for Neon Dynasty, and it is still there now for Commander Legends. Keep in mind that covers New Capenna, where the list was smaller. Even though the Magic version of the Stranger Things cards were heavily weighted there, the other cards on the list still appeared much more frequently compared to other sets. In Vintage, you see this in Esper Tinker and Paradoxical Outcome. This is also a huge commander card that is getting more play now in new builds like Elminster. We saw this jumping last week, but this time Food Chain from Double Masters 2022 is down $3.48 to $38.82. This was part of the list from Zendikar Rising through Strixhaven. It is a great commander card and combo enabler. It is seeing more play now in the format too. This is a good upgrade to the Exit from Exile commander deck, and it's in fresh builds around the front-facing commander there, Feldorn Dreadwolf Herald. Mana Vault, the Double Masters 2022 copy down $2.72 to $56.99. The Ultimate Masters copy down $4.27 to $67.82. In Vintage, this one's in Paradoxical Outcome, Prison, and Aggro shops. Plus, this is another popular commander card in many different builds, including Urza Lord High Artificer. Phyrexian Altar, the one from Ultimate Masters, is down $7.36 this week to $60.38. Another big commander card and combo enabler in the format. This is in a lot of decks and getting more play now in some Merkle Lord of Bones builds. Last card in this section is the Double Masters 2022 copy of Imperial Seal. It goes down $12.54 this week to $164.73. Prior to this printing, this was hard to find in high grade. It was originally from Portal 3 Kingdoms, and English language copies of those cards are extremely rare. Your other option was a Judge Foil. Both were very expensive, especially the Portal one. The card itself is a sorcery speed vampiric tutor, but it is still a card that is played in many different commander decks that want additional tutor options. And that takes us to the Commander Spotlight. Rather short Commander Spotlight this week. We have a few cards to talk about. As always, all the cards in this section are moving at least in part because of Commander, but there could be other reasons too. And in some cases, Commander is not always even the key driver, but I'll let you know as we go through. First, we have Holistic Wisdom. This goes up $2.16 this week to $4.98. It is an older card yet to be reprinted, and it does see a little commander play, but it has been seeing more recently. Why? Well, that's because it was discussed on a recent episode of the Command Zone podcast talking about obscure and underrated commander cards. That did bring some attention to this. The card itself does allow you to get some of your best cards back later in the game, which can be good. Herald's Horn. This is up $3.26 to $10.78, but this is the copy from the Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate Mind Flayer's commander deck. Now, this also saw a lot of list printings recently. It was in the list from Kaldheim through Innistrad Crimson Vow. But ultimately, this particular copy was undervalued up until this week. It did jump, and yeah, maybe it jumped a little too high, kind of past the others by a little bit. I would expect this to retract and kind of normalize down to where the others are over the coming weeks. But this is still a highly played commander card. It is, of course, in fresh builds around Captain Nagathrod. but it's also in a lot of other commander decks, including the Ur-Dragon and Tiamat. Additionally, you see this Amiram Sentinel Worm builds there too. Okay, now here's a card reprinted in Double Masters 2022 that is not going down. This is Dockside Extortionist, up $8.88 this week to $69.99. The Double Masters 2022 copy was creeping up a little bit too. Didn't make the $2 threshold when I pulled the prices, but it was moving up over $1. But anyway, back to this copy. This did lose a fair amount of value leading up to the release of Double Masters 2022. But now it is quickly moving back up. As you can see, it is a very heavily played commander card in many different decks. Plus, it is seeing more play now in those Miram Sentinel Worm builds. Basically, though, if you're playing Red and Commander, you probably want a copy of this. Additionally, this too was in the Command Zone Podcast Extra Turns episode this week in 2 different decks. One was the Omnith Locus of Creation deck. The other was an Ishin 2 Heavens as 1 build. And the last card in this section is Seed Time. It's up 904 this week to 1886. So this does see a little commander play in different builds. Again, we have an older card yet to be reprinted. But more importantly, when it comes to the price of this card and why it's jumping the way it is, turns out this was another card discussed on that episode of the Command Zone podcast looking at obscure and underrated commander cards. Blue spells are played pretty consistently in most commander games, and even though there's a lot of restrictions around this, it is a nice response when you try to play something on your turn and it gets countered. Sure, they got you, your spell might be countered, but you can take an extra turn for a green and 1. That takes us to the premium spotlight. There's always a ton of premium cards that are moving up in value, moving down in value. The market is very turbulent. Part of it ties into the fact that, at least for a lot of these cards, there's not a lot of copies for sale or selling at any given time. And because we can't talk about everything, I don't want to spend time talking about cards that are moving because of a buyout, or moving because they appear to be dry in the online marketplace for a week or two, and then they're most likely going to move back. I try to find cards that are moving because they're tied into something relevant that's going on, because there's a better chance that those prices could sustain to some degree. For example, maybe a card's being pushed by a new deck or a preview card. This time I chose one card, and it is Holistic Wisdom. This is the Odyssey foil of $17.75 to $59.99. Okay, is that real? Well, I'll tell you, it is very difficult to find any copies of these things selling. There's just not many of them out there, and asking prices do feel a little high right now. One sold for about $20 before the non-foil copy spiked. I do think sellers are putting the price maybe a little too high, trying to stay ahead of the spike on this one. Typically, though, most sellers are open to taking a fair offer. I'm sure when the next one sells in high grade, it will sell for more than $20. Maybe not $59.99 right away, though. Alright, that's going to do it for this episode of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. As always, hey, if you stuck with me to the end, I appreciate you being here. Thank you. Until next time, though, stay safe out there. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.